Live from Mom's basement.
And the end of my garden.
It's funny. I had Mom's basement. That's a funny name. So I long-time listeners of the show, or even I guess long-time viewers of the show, know that we used to have a video editor for some of the content that happened around episode 100. I don't remember if we started at episode 100 and then trailed off, or if we ramped up to episode 100. I think we launched at episode 100 on YouTube. Jeff was his name, or is his name. He's still alive. He's not gone. He's just pursuing other options. And I still consider him a great friend. And Jeff and I used to play a game together. And you know how the games have guilds or, you know, collections of players.
Yeah.
Our collection of players was called Mom's Basement, and he was the leader of it. So that's
see, okay.
It's got some deep-rooted history there.
That was an in joke, really.
It was an in joke, yeah. I don't know if he still watches or listens. I hope so. Hey, Jeff, if you're watching or listening.
And if not, why not?
We got plenty of video content for you to edit if you want to come back.
Wait, interesting story tonight.
Oh, yes. I'm thrilled with the selection.
Yes. Because I can't remember what was the one that we really didn't want. I've forgotten what the list was. I meant to check it before.
You were very adamant about not doing skyscraper sounds, traffic sounds, impacting work productivity.
Oh yeah. That was the one. Only because we get back to the same place again.
Yeah.
No, that's not.
Yes, really, really interesting story tonight. We'll just throw it up there now. You can scan the QR code if you'd like. This will be a really interesting one, especially given AI. But I think it goes beyond AI. In the story, they actually talk about human augmentation beyond AI, which is really cool because they're talking about, like, you know, prosthetics and implants and other things.
I want to take almost a step back from what they were talking about, because it's things like, I mean, exoskeletons and all of this sort of stuff is any way that technology gives you. So the simplest example, because we Amanda and the kids weren't around for dinner this evening, in the same way that we usually are. Normally we banter this around the table to get some opinion, and so I was missing that sort of vital input this evening. But when I was talking to myself, because clearly I had a very high level conversation with myself, I was sort of going, well, actually, any technology that gives you a way of doing things better than you think you can. I was like, well, the simple thing is a GPS and mapping. So Google Maps. As soon as you turn around and say, right, I can be at that place in that meeting. That meeting starts at 10 o'clock. I can get there at 5 to 10 or 10 to 10. And you think, do it. And then somebody has an accident on the motorway, or bad weather, or just traffic, and you end up being half an hour late. And that's all because you have this misguided idea. So yeah, this sort of sent lots of stuff off. Really cool.
It's really cool. And in fact, in the show notes, I added a new area for us to look at. There's a new section in there. I don't know if you saw that, Barry, but it's called examples.
You're assuming I read the notes. Okay. I see. Oh, new stuff. I get it.
Yeah, check that out. So there's a bunch of examples that we can talk through tonight. I think some of these are really cool. A lot of them focus on AI, but I think there's, even some examples beyond that you just mentioned that are pretty cool and worth mentioning. Since we're in the pre-show, I am going to go ahead and open up. I'm going to get out of my comfort zone a little bit here. Okay. Are you ready for me to get out of my comfort zone?
I don't know whether I am. Do I need to be sitting comfortably?
Okay. Maybe. So up until now, this has been a Patreon exclusive, a lab member exclusive. We kind of slow rolled it out. Okay. Now, that being said, Patreon members, lab members still get priority. Okay. I want to be clear. They will still get priority, but yikes, we're now opening this up to anybody. You can be a live caller.
This can go one of two ways. It could be really, really good, or we're going to have so many people ringing up with Chinese orders, it'll be unreal.
Oh, yeah. No, well, here's the thing is that, thankfully, I'm also the producer board op on this, and I can vet before we actually send them out. And if I see anybody that we recognize, you know, they're obviously going to be pushed through that queue pretty quickly. So yeah, if you want to give us a call, scan that QR code, and you know, just give us a little ring. I guess it'll ask you for your name. You log in, and then you know, just let us know. There's a little chat in here once you get in the studio to what you want to talk about. We'll bring you in, and we'll have a nice little chat. And if you say anything awful, we'll just kick you out right away.
Yeah,
I think that's the fair approach. What do you think?
I think so. I mean, to be fair, I think if they say anything bad, we could always just cut it out afterwards.
Yeah.
But
all right.
The art of the editing is in the I don't have, because I guess if we were super cool, we'd have like a 20-second delay or something like that. But that means that we couldn't actually check that we're live ourselves, and that would just be really awkward.
Yeah. I mean, there is a little bit of a delay, but we can't like override that delay.
Yeah.
So here's the thing, like, you know, we'll obviously only keep this open for the pre-show, for the post-show. So if you want to do all that, do it during the pre-show, the post-show. We're still going to kind of focus our conversation during the actual show. Barry and I have a lot to say about this, but feel free to call in. Let us know what your thoughts are, and that way, if you say anything profane, it's not in the main show. That's the deal.
I was gonna say, you just say it, but in fact, do I have a language beep on this? I don't know whether I do. But what's trash talk? And that's
trash talk.
Oh, I've got that. That sounds more like Morse code.
It's a little abrasive.
And I don't know what. Can you hear me when I'm pressing this button? I don't think that changes anything, does it?
No, I don't change. It doesn't change anything.
It doesn't do anything.
Welcome.
Oh, that's the wrong one. Completely.
Welcome.
Yeah. So with the notes where you've asked about, do I have different sounds?
Yes.
I've got to put yes, no.
Okay,
no.
cool. So I'm just going to delete those really quick. The ones that you don't have.
I thought I had tumbleweed, but I don't.
You don't have a laugh track?
Well, I do, but the laughter's
boisterous.
That would, if that works for you, then that will do.
Yeah, just cut it short. Yeah, we can do that one. Just cut it short.
Okay, so that's yes.
And you don't have the one that goes bam, 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 bam.
Not on this. I don't know. I've got half. I do have rim shot. You wanted rim shot, didn't you?
Yeah. Yep.
Closest. It's not quite what you're looking for, but
oh, you know what? Hold on. I'm gonna switch some of these around because we got. Okay, folks, let's get learning and laughing, and then that's when you do the laughter, and then
back to that.
And remember, it's all about having a hoot while getting smart. And then if you have the pew, 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 that's when we can put it in there. I could have swore I heard you do that one before.
I thought I did, but it might have been on a software pack rather than.
Okay, all right. Okay, so we got crickets, we got rim shot. I could have or just wind howling. Do you have just like wind howling?
I've only got 8 things set up. What else have I got? Yeah, no, I've got 8 things. I don't really use them, so it's. I have applause. I have crickets. I have a harp. I have laughter. Scary, which is quite cool. Rim shot, trombone, and this urban talks, which is quite cool. Completely irrelevant to this, but
yeah, I feel like I got to cut the music here to hear that. Okay, all right. Well, I think that's enough. So we got some fun sounds in there towards the beginning and towards the end. I think that's good enough.
I'm going to help myself by changing the color.
What color you want them?
Well, I'm going to match the.
You're going to match it to your thing. Okay.
Yeah, so I can find it quicker. Otherwise, I'll look at it and go, All right, it's only quicker. Rim shot is light blue. Laughter. See, this is human factors at its best.
Okay.
And do you want me to do that trombone at the end? So it's not the horn.
No. Nah, let's not do the sad trombone. That's a no.
Fair enough.
Nah, we want to end this with fun. Okay, so here's the thing. When you say this is human factors at its best, I got human factors at its worst. You know when you try to patch things in your own personal life that's like a usability issue?
Yeah.
Okay, let me just paint the scene really quick. Okay, I'm in my office, right? This office is a freestanding structure that is literally located in my kitchen. I've got walls all around me, but they're made of cardboard. And I do have like a door right here. It's a sliding door. And the thing is, the door is not secured at the bottom. It's just on a rail at the top, so it can slide. Okay? All right. My son is my shadow at this point. He follows me everywhere. When I go to the bathroom, when I sleep, when I work, he's everywhere, right there. And sometimes there are work meetings or podcasts that I need to attend and close that door. And that makes somebody very unhappy.
I can imagine.
So what I have done is I've actually braced this door with a couple patches. Okay, so I've braced the door with a couple patches. In doing so, there is no, I guess, handles on this door. Okay, that's human factors issue 101. But the bigger issue is that now that I've patched this to where as he pushes on the door, the reason I patched it is so that if he pushes on the door in either direction, it won't move dramatically, come off its rails, and cause a big thing in the middle of my meeting. I have a way of locking it through like a chain on the side here that I just pull and kind of lock it in its place. Okay, picture painted, right? So I've barricaded this thing, kind of reinforced it a little bit. Okay, so then I go to have a meeting, and it turns out that now, because I've barricaded it and there's no give in it, one, it's more difficult to get my hands around the door to push it open. So that's a little annoying, livable. The more annoying thing is that before I relied on the give of the door to like push out so that I could grab that chain from the other side and pull it in and lock it. Okay, this thing no longer gives. And so what I did was I patched that by putting really long fishing line on the thing so it would go in with the door and then come out the other side, and I could just pull the thing up and have it come to my side. I pull it out, right? Okay. That broke within like 3 days, right? The fishing line. It's just such ugly patch. And I would have designed this very differently had I thought about that very use case.
Right from the beginning.
Right from the beginning. And so it's just one of those things that I'm like, wow, amazing. If I had talked to another dad who had this very same problem where they have to come into their office that they built up in their kitchen, and their young toddler likes to be their shadow too and pushes on their sliding door. And it's like, I start to go down this path and I'm like, these are all very specific use cases. But in a lot of ways, this is like designing for defense.
Yeah.
Where I'm going to leave it at that. But you think about it, it's like designing in that very, very small number of users, but it's like mission critical.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting.
So
I think you've got all this, you've had an evolutionary approach to a problem that you solved a very specific problem, then the use case has grown and grown and grown. And your technical solution is having to evolve with it. Whereas if you'd done an exploratory right at the beginning, but you wouldn't have been able to do that because you would never have got to the full use case.
Would have never thought that
because it's a full experiential thing. So what you needed is your annual reviews of your evolving use case, and to be signed off by your key supervisor, i.e. your better half, to be able to do all this sort of stuff. Because then she would release the expenditure for you to be able to do your upgrades. I bet she doesn't allow you very much money to do your upgrades. So because you haven't given her a full justification as to why.
That's true. I should give a full justification.
Even when I give a full justification, I still don't get the money. So, if it doesn't read,
sounds good. Right now, I'm racking my brain to try to think about how to fix this problem, because I thought I was so clever. I was like, I'll just put these little chains way up high where he can't reach, and I'll just reach through, grab it from the other side, pull it through, and lock it. It's like a door chain. I have one going either way, so that way I can lock it from the outside too, so that way he can't push it open and get in and like press buttons and get live here on the podcast. Or more importantly, so that way he can't press buttons while I'm at work. I'm trying to think about how to solve this to where it's actually like a locking door. And this is more difficult, I think, than it needs to be, because I've built this in such a way that I thought I would never need to lock that thing.
Yeah.
And like you said, the use case has grown.
And it no matter what, so you'll solve it for now. And then your protagonist will grow, and then they'll be able to reach more. They'll be able to do more. They'll have more strength. They'll have more ingenuity to robustly test your design.
But they will also have different motivations as well. So I think that some of the motivations might change as they get older.
So at the moment, the motivation at the moment is because they want to be with daddy and spend all your time. Wait till you get to a tantrum when they've got the strength to do something with that. Oh, guess what's getting trashed? Daddy's pride and joy. Sorry, that's a use case, by the way, just in case you hadn't realized that one.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of, there's a lot of things that I'd be pretty precious about. I guess, like, I'd be mad about, but is there anything irreplaceable?
No, it's just expensive.
No, there are a few irreplaceable things. Like, if he smashed this, I'd be pretty upset because I built that for him. That's a costume for him. And I built that. I 3D printed, painted it, everything. That mask back there.
Yeah.
That would be, if he smashed that, I'd be pretty upset. Anything else on here is whatever. It's books or Star Wars toys. So whatever. I have my new ones.
You'll bless you. You'll learn.
Oh no, I know. I'd still be mad. Don't get me wrong. I'd still be mad.
Oh no. The fact that you got things that you consider precious at the moment, that will soon be beaten out of you. Give it another 2.
Oh no. Let me be clear. Like, there are things that I've already compromised on that I'm like, oh, okay, I guess that's never gonna be nice again.
Yes.
No, that's already happened.
My entire house like that. But now it's weird because we're starting to get to the other side because our eldest has left for university. Obviously, she's
right.
Which you'd sort of think, she's gone, she's out the door. That means we can start reclaiming some of our house back. Turns out that no, because she went away for a weekend away and has come back really quite ill, and so my wife's had to go and be with her, and then she'll decide tomorrow. So she's staying in a hotel overnight tonight. Then we'll decide tomorrow whether she's bringing her back here or not. So yeah, it doesn't end. And then we were chatting about how kids, even when they're older, the next thing they want is lifts everywhere, taken to parties, to friends, etc. And we're like, oh well, surely that'll end at some point. And then literally in the next thing, I'm texting my mum about, so when I'm going to go on a visit up there in a few weeks, because I'm hopefully going to go and stay up there, but work up there. It's not just a holiday. And so I was on about getting the train up there with my son, and I was like, oh, it's okay, because when I get to the station, I could ask my mum if she could give us a lift. The thing, like, yeah, I'm 44 years old. This is just never going to end, is it?
That's funny, because like here I am trying to not burden friends and family whenever, like, so like I'll rent a rental car and be like, no, we got it. You'll have to pick us up from the airport. Part of it is that he's so young right now that he needs a car seat. I can imagine that when he gets older and doesn't require a car seat so much, it'd be like, yes, that'd be wonderful if you could just.
Yes. I think one of the things that we've learned is, I guess, not to be so proud, if that makes sense, because we would do exactly the same. It would be like, no, we shall manage by ourselves. It's all us. That's fine. Whereas I'm just now, if it just makes life, yes, just do it. That's brilliant. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. It's still a hard thing for me to do, but I'm getting better at doing it. But there we go. Because it's fun for them as well, because they get to spend time with their grandchildren. So
yeah,
that's what I keep telling myself.
Here, I'm going to put this up one more time. We got a couple minutes left before we go live. So if you'd like to call in and test me, test my comfort zone with live interaction, please do. Again, this was like exclusive to our lab members and patrons in the past, but we are now opening this up to everybody. Of course, they also get priority here, but yes, feel free to call in. Scan that QR code. Let us know in the chat, in the studio, what you want to chat about. We'll bring you on. Of course, if you do want to talk about tonight's show, here's the news story. So that way you can read up on it. We're going to talk about it soon. Someone just scanned the QR code, so we might have a live caller here shortly. Unless that was you, Barry.
Yeah, you might be.
Is that you?
Just want to see if it worked.
Does it?
Yeah. You go, well, okay. Because I scanned it on my phone and it was still with Chrome. It was like, but you're already on. What are you doing? Oh, yeah. Sorry. I should have pushed.
Okay, well, I'll put that up one more time. I took it away because I saw someone scan the code.
Yeah, it was me.
So, okay.
I was doing on-site user testing.
On-site user testing. Check that out.
Acceptance testing.
Very cool. Oh man. And if I guess we could do this in the pre-show since I forgot to do it last week or something. Or no, I didn't forget to do it last week.
We did last week because that's where we had the discussion. Mm-hmm. Yes.
That's right. You don't want to do the.
What are the options?
The options for next week are actually really exciting. So the one of the stories here. This is in no particular order. The Dunning-Kruger effect isn't what you think.
Okay.
NVIDIA's generative AI lets gamers converse with NPCs.
Cool. Okay.
That one's currently leading. The metaverse can lead to better science.
Yada yada. Isn't the metaverse dead? According to everybody.
That's kind of why I picked it. And then AI and cybersecurity. Yesterday's promise, today's reality. So we got a couple AI stories, metaverse story, Dunning-Kruger. I mean, there's enough variety. I mean, like, you know me, how I like to kind of go with themes throughout shows. I figured like this was human augmentation. Let's grab a couple other AI stuff. But I mean, they're interesting takes on AI, right? The conversing with NPCs is one approach that I think actually has a lot of value. Like, think about training scenarios.
Yeah. Yes. No.
Okay. All right. So that's kind of why I picked that. And then the AI and cybersecurity, cybersecurity is huge human factors. And so like what's going on in that cybersecurity space right now with AI, what's going on? Figured that was a good kind of check in with that domain. And then there's, obviously the metaverse and whatever that means. So yeah, go vote. Anyone can vote.
Not that I wish to influence a vote, but the Dunning-Kruger effect might just out me. So let's not do that. I think the general, because of, I guess, a lot of the work I've done in the training domain and simulation and stuff, that the NVIDIA one is interesting. I do like that. I think there is a case for the metaverse leading to better science. And I've done a lot of cybersecurity recently, so I'm a bit bored of it.
Okay.
So I would
not to influence, but not the cybersecurity one.
Yeah, I would. So I think it's either the generative AI conversing with NPCs or the metaverse better science. Because the metaverse with science one actually lends itself to my newfound drive around better communication in better communication of human factors. So I could segue that one quite a lot.
Yeah, I actually do like these live votes a lot. It looks like there's a nice spread now. So the current vote totals, we have 2 for AI's NVIDIA's generative AI. We have 1 for the metaverse standards, and then we have 1 for cybersecurity AI. So no one wants to hear about Dunning-Kruger, I think is the message here.
I am right. So the Dunning-Kruger effect is that one that says basically you don't know very much, therefore you're overconfident in what you're doing.
It's not what you think.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's the gist.
Lack of knowledge and skill in certain areas, because then I remember them days when I used to think I knew everything, and then I got to that stunning part of realizing I really don't. So almost Dunning-Kruger is almost inverse imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
it kind of is. Okay. Well, now we have a 3-way tie. We have 2 votes for NVIDIA's NPCs. We got 2 votes for Metaverse and 2 votes for AI cybersecurity. We actually did get a Dunning-Kruger vote. So
somebody's just doing that cybersecurity one just to wind me up. I'm fairly sure they do this. You're evil people. But fair play.
It's got to be right. Like they hear, oh, Barry doesn't want to talk about that one.
Yeah. It's not a terrible topic. It's just not my favorite.
Well, I think this happened last week too with the I keep saying skyscrapers, but with the traffic noise. I think that one ended up dying down too.
Yes.
People changed their votes by the end of it. Anyway, vote your heart.
Yes, and if you're watching this and you see me sort of stretching and stuff and weirdly moving my arm, I've still got my trapped nerve issue like 2 months later. I'm trying to put down my medication and painkillers, but woe is me, it still hurts.
Woe is Barry.
So I might take a bit more relaxed approach tonight, sitting back in my chair as opposed to being forward facing or locked. I'm trying, once I find the right position, it's fine, but this desk setup isn't quite as well set up for this as some of my others. Weirdly, I got it right earlier when I was doing some work, but yeah.
Okay. Well, hey, we're just a couple minutes away from the show. I'm going to leave this out here. If anyone's watching and wants to leave us a voicemail while we're recording the show, of course, you'll be able to watch us record the show. We'll be here, but we're not going to take live calls during the show. So leave us a voicemail. We can play it afterwards if you aren't able to stick around for the post show. Otherwise, always be a live caller after in the post show. And we'll check in with the news. What's going on with those results when we finish up.
But if you do want to influence the show, you can still send us messages on the chat.
You can absolutely send us messages on the chat. We'll read those during the show because we can weave those into our conversation quite expertly.
That's cool. That's that. Good.
Okay.
Awesome.
Take that away. Oh, remind me in the post show, I got access to Google's like music machine learning program. What is it? Music LM? Yeah.
I've never tried it. Never seen it.
Oh, that's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. It's not super robust, but it gets close enough. Presumably, all this is royalty free, so I might be able to play some stuff on stream. But yeah, let me know if we want to play with that.
Cool.
All right, we're here at the half hour mark. So we are going to start the show and have a great old time doing it. I'm going to play this little intro thing, and then we'll be right back to talk about this cool topic.
Welcome to Human Factors Cast, your weekly podcast for human factors, psychology, and design.
Hello, everybody. This is episode 285. We're recording this episode live on June 1st, 2023. This is Human Factors Cast. I'm your host, Nick Roome. I'm joined today by Mr. Barry Kirby.
Hi, Nick. How you doing?
Well, you know what, Barry? I'm not doing too well because for the second week in a row, we don't have fun names. So come back, whoever you were, leaving fun names in the show notes.
You just can't get the anonymous stuff nowadays, can you?
No. Hey, we do have a great show for you all tonight. We're going to be discussing how blind trust in enhancement technologies or augmentation technologies, whatever you want to call it, encourages risk-taking even if the tech is a sham. Later on, we'll be answering some questions from the human factors community, such as product management. Is it cannibalizing UX research? Should you take money for a dysfunctional project? And doing pro bono work while job searching. But first, we have some programming notes. You know what? I usually ask these at the end of the show, but if you enjoy the type of stuff that we do, if you want to help support the show, there's a couple things that you can do. Wherever you're at right now, you can leave us a 5-star review. That really helps other people find the show. You can always tell your friends about the show. Let them know around the water cooler that these two white cisgendered male dudes, and they call attention to that during Pride Month, and they talk about human factor stuff, and we do try to encourage diversity and inclusion on the show. So let me just be clear about that. So tell your friends around the water cooler about the show. Help it grow that way. And 3, if you have the financial means to, you want to help support the show, there's a Patreon. We have it. You can support us. Just $1 gets you in the door. Anything helps. I usually ask that at the end, but I figured I'd throw it here at the top of the show. Barry, I do have to know, though, what's going on with the latest over at 1202?
So at 1202, we've still got the interview with Ben Peachy up, and that is doing really well in terms of people who really wanted to understand them insights about what drives him and what is inspiring his leadership of the Chartered Institute of Ergonomics and Human Factors in his role as as CEO. And then we've got a new one coming out next week, but I shall leave that under covers until it goes live.
Ooh, I'm excited. That was quite the tease, Barry.
Thank you.
All right. Well, let's get into it, shall we? That's right. This is the part of the show all about human factors news. Barry, what do we have this week?
So this week we are looking at blind trust in enhancement technologies encourages risk-taking, even if the tech is a sham. So a recent study has suggested that people who expect their performance to be enhanced by augmentation technologies such as AI or exoskeletons engage in riskier decision-making. The researchers found that strong belief in improvement based on a fake system can alter their decision-making. In the study, participants were led to believe that an AI-controlled brain-computer interface would enhance their cognitive abilities whilst playing the Columbia card task game, when in fact, the augmentation provided no real benefit. Almost all of the participants thought the augmentation helped them do better, leading them to make riskier decisions. The hype surrounding these technologies skews people's expectations and can lead individuals to make dangerous decisions. AI-based technologies that enhance users are common in professions like firefighting, factory work, and could soon be available to knowledge workers. The placebo effect can make users feel overconfident in these technologies without fully understanding their limits and their benefits. To ensure the effectiveness of new technologies beyond the hype, placebo-controlled studies are necessary for accurate evaluation and validation to tell apart the snake oil from real innovation. Profession-wide overconfidence could lead to real consequences. So thorough studies like these, practitioners in human factors can help ensure that such risks are limited and technologies are understood for their real benefits and risks. So, Nick, what are your thoughts on AI basically making you feel better than you actually are? Is that giving you more confidence to take more risks in our podcast?
Yes. Guilty. I won't say how, but I'm guilty of that. Look, I mean, this story is interesting on a couple levels, right? This really sort of highlights the need for communication around the capabilities and limitations to manage some of these user expectations. I mean, like, when you think about the general population and what they think about ChatGPT, for example, or some AI automated system, they might think it's AGI, and it's not it's not general artificial intelligence. It's a large language model that predicts the next stuff based on previous. And so being very clear about what it is and what it isn't is really important. So I think this highlights that need, especially when you start looking beyond AI, when you start looking at things like we talked about in the pre-show, exoskeleton technologies, prosthetics, implants, those types of things where it feels like it should make you a superhuman in some ways, but maybe it doesn't, and that risk-taking behavior then comes into play. I mean, obviously, this is where human factors plays a huge role, incorporating that user feedback, expectations loop into the design process can help mitigate some of those risks. The other thing is that for me, this is another big call for policy and regulations with AI, and even even beyond AI, there's a lot of there can be a lot of consumer or user protections put into place to help with these type of products that are meant to, in some cases, when you mention things like snake oil, deceive the end user into believing that it is supposed to work. So that's kind of my thoughts on it. Barry, where are your thoughts with everything? Have you collected them?
Not really, no. Just when I think, no, I see where they're coming from. There is a whole lot of stuff here around the way that we are perceiving or using not just AI, technologies as a whole. They mentioned things like exoskeletons and things like that. It'd be quite easy to use that as a real practical example of if you're using an exoskeleton all of the time to do lifting and things like that. You could easily fool yourself to think, well, actually, I'm at home now. I could easily lift because I lift that sort of weight to work all the time. I could lift that at home and actually lend yourself to injury. But fully, it's about the amount of trust that you've got in what it is that you're doing. It's about being able to understand where the information is coming from in order to supplement your decision making. But again, when we talk about the example that they've given about using a card task, one of the things that we've said on this show quite a lot already, that one of the advantages of ChatGPT and the other LLMs is the ability to have a third person in the room, the ability to have something to bounce ideas off, to start you off, to get things going. It's like having that second opinion all of the time, and that's where I really value it, because it just allows you to actively reflect on what you're doing. But I've also seen, because I've now joined quite a few ChatGPT Facebook groups and LinkedIn groups and things like that. And what is worrying is the amount of people who think that it's an endpoint solution, that you throw something in it and what it gives you a polished answer. And you can sort of see that in two respects. One is people asking, saying, "Oh, I want it to do this. How do I make it do it?" It's like, well, you can't do that. It is just a large language model. It doesn't create magic. But then the other one is when they get it to trip up and they're taking screenshots and mocking it, and saying, "Oh, look how stupid it is. It doesn't work." It's like, well, it's not meant to do that. That's not what it's about. So we sort of have this false idea about what it's meant to be. And really, this keys into one of the things you said. It's all about that hype, isn't it? And certainly, at the moment, we have this hype around AI. People have just woken up to it. But now we've gone so far the other way that it's going to take over the world. I was driving back from the office and listening to the radio, and they were having a phone-in show, and literally, it was about a prediction that had been made that things like ChatGPT were going to cause human extinction, and getting people to ring in about it. And you're like, they had a professor of AI, and he was basically kind of saying what we're saying now, which is take it easy, just chill. It's not going to it's not going to kill everybody. It's like it talks very cleverly. The one thing he did say, which I disagreed with to a certain extent, was the amount of it will. What an LLM can do is put out a lot of false information, a lot of fake news, and things like that. And I'm like, we've been doing that for years already. That's not new. Yes, it can probably increase volume, but humans have been passing out disinformation for eons. So that's not really a new thing. But in terms of the end of the world, the apocalypse, yet.
Yeah, I mean, I want to jump in and talk about that point though, because at least with that, there's at least because it talks at a rather sophisticated level compared to perhaps what some people are used to, a chat program returning back. I think that is the danger when you pair it with that misinformation. Right. If it gives you that misinformation and it's telling you confidently that that is information, and it's telling you in a way that it is creating an argument for that, then are you more likely to engage in a risky behavior because it told you to ingest rocks?
Oh, absolutely. I'm not saying that it can't do that, but I think this whole idea of, we've been getting people have been selling snake oil to us for years. It's not necessarily an AI thing, solely uniquely an AI thing. It is just aping human behavior. So I don't think that means we're going to get to the apocalypse. But let's take it back to the story itself before let's get away from the end of the world.
Yeah.
Hopefully the end of the world is not.
Yeah.
Well, certainly not for the next 50 minutes.
Well, I mean, we could even start with the placebo. You just brought up placebo or snake oil, placebo, snake oil. I think going side by side. So I think there's sort of this placebo effect that's happening here, and this is what the study is suggesting: is that there's sort of this enhanced, this feeling that you are somehow empowered more than you would be when using other tools that with this human augmentation. And to be clear, this large blanket of human augmentation that we're talking about is not just AI. This is something as simple as a prosthetic that helps give back a part of your life. If you were to lose a part of your body and have a replacement prosthetic, it could even happen with that, right? It could happen with some sort of implant that like I think a while ago on the show we had Brian who was talking about having that person's eye implant turned off on them. And so even something like that where you might engage in riskier decisions because you have a visual implant or even a cochlear implant that augments you in some way that now with a cochlear implant you can hear cars as you're about to cross the road, and maybe it doesn't have the same level of accuracy as I don't know, maybe you I don't know. There's use cases here, but there's plenty of examples that we can go into. I just want to talk about they're using this placebo with respect to human augmentation. It goes beyond AI.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because what they're suggesting really is that whenever we develop a new technology, we need to do placebo-based testing to truly understand what the effect is that it's given you, the positive effect the technology has given you. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I don't, I'm quite often pro technology and no, we don't need all the X, Y, Z, this, that. But this I think has got quite a lot of merit in terms of we've always been unable, or it's been difficult to quantify the advantages whatever technology it is you're using, and actually using a placebo effect to be able to quantify that, I think is interesting. Just to look at technology use, but to then focusing on risk taking. I mean, risk taking does take, I guess, many forms. There are different types of risks that we have in life. An example that we talked about briefly in the pre-show is as you said, it does need to be AI. We take risk now because we're using satellite navigation software, be that online or other. That you would normally turn around and say, right, this journey of however many miles takes me 60, 70 minutes to do. But actually, my sat nav says I can do that in 50 minutes, and so I will time my arrival, say 55 minutes away, because that will get me there just in time. It also means I can fit in a loo break on the way, etc., etc. And so that is risky decision making, because all it takes is one bad traffic accident, one bit of congestion, or slightly bad weather, and you will be late for whatever it is that you're doing. And that is you having a higher, a greater risk appetite because you think you know more. And I think that's what it comes down to: is you think that you've got greater ability, you think you've got more information, more knowledge. Therefore, you can make a better decision, and so therefore you'll make a tighter decision, a riskier decision, which is really interesting. And I think it's true. I think there's, I think we do it. Well, you said it straight away in your comments of being guilty all the time, and we do that with all of our. I mean, the fact that we drive cars to get from A to B or to get a taxi or whatever, rather than walking, it's because we're using technology because we want to get somewhere faster, and we will make assumptions of that.
Riskier.
So,
yeah. I mean, even in your like maps example, that actually does give you more information. It gives you a probability window for when you'll arrive based on the time that you leave. Based on normal conditions, this is how this is when you're going to get to that place. And that does give you some level of knowledge, and in some ways that does lower that tolerance for risk when you have that piece of information. And I just think it's fascinating because this is a measured effect that is based on placebo, right? They basically put, a fake BCI on them and said, this will help you make decisions. I'm simplifying here, but
that's a really interesting thing, isn't it? Because if they did that to you or I, we'd be like, how? Show me how. Show me how that's going to work, because that cannot work. How you put in is it got magnets? What's going on, etc., etc. It was so what the researchers found, the individuals with high expectation of the technology, so that the people who believe this technology would work would engage in risky decision making. So I don't know if you are more knowledgeable about technology, does that, because if you believe that was a true brain computer interface, you'd have been like, that's not the way it works. That's just not it. Or I have enough knowledge to go, we ain't got that yet. That just cannot happen. So we've got a higher knowledge base to work from. However, if you just like willfully, yep, that's going to work, possibly the same type of people who think that AI is going to cause the end of the world, then maybe does that lead something else to their character? I don't know. Is weirdly, we were talking about Dunning-Kruger. Is that Dunning-Kruger effect in action?
Right.
So you've actually got you sort of know how, because everybody uses their iPhone now or their Android, what other phones are available. You use your phone now without really thinking about that technology, about things like voice recognition. We use voice recognition now without even thinking about all that sort of stuff, about how it works, the nuances of accents and things like that. And I was given a presentation a couple of weeks ago about my career and stuff, and one of the early things I worked on was early voice recognition. It was only just at where software voice recognition was just starting to come about, and I was doing some evaluation versus hardware, and strong accents. You had to do loads of training for them, etc., etc., etc. I had to do loads of software. It was heavy software learning as well. Whereas now we just completely take it for granted. We don't even think that the voice recognition will work. We might have to speak a bit clearly every now and again, but in the large scale, it's going to work. So our expectations of these technologies, that's a really interesting piece. We don't necessarily understand how it works, therefore we just assume it's going to happen.
Sorry, the whole voice to text tech actually failed us last week on the show, and I won't say exactly what happened, but
oh yes, I saw that. That was amusing.
Well, let's just say I said, this is Human Factors Cast really fast, and it came up with a bodily fluid. Anyway, had to change the transcript on that one. I don't know if I caught it everywhere, but anyway, that is a good instance though, because like a lot of the time I just take that transcript and throw it in there. I say, oh, good enough, right? I think the people listening to it or reading it, the hearing impaired who are reading it, they'll get the picture, and that's not the greatest, but for a small team that we have, it's the best we can do, and at least we provide some accessibility there. I think there's a lot of interesting um I spoke about hearing impaired just briefly there, but I mean, like, here's another example. I brought up cochlear implants earlier, but what about like hearing aids as like an augmentation tool? That's not like full hearing replacement, but it's supposed to help you hear a little better. Imagine you have one of these devices in your ear and you think it significantly improves your hearing. And so you start to maybe engage in riskier behaviors like going out into more noisy environments like a like traffic. or like social settings where perhaps there's a lot going on. It might be information overload with that hearing aid in, and it doesn't actually help you parse through any of that information. It just amplifies it and doesn't do a whole lot of good. So I mean, there's examples that exist today like that, and like you said with the maps, even with exoskeletons starting to be more commonplace in like big box home improvement stores, or even on construction sites, or manufacturing facilities for large aircraft, right? I mean, there's like the exoskeletons are starting to become more commonplace in these types of environments. And when you have, like you said, the person who does this type of thing at work and then comes home and says, yeah, I can do that, and then they misjudge sort of what they're capable of doing because they're so used to having that suit on. But I mean, it's even it's a little bit different from that, because if you think about that example, it's almost like trying to translate their knowledge about what the exoskeleton is capable of doing. They might, like to me, a clear example of this might be like, okay, well, if this is improving my ability, I might be able to work longer to do this, and that's a riskier option, is to work longer hours, or to lift something slightly heavier than maybe the exoskeleton is approved for, or something along those lines. That might be a good example of something on a in any of those environments that I just described. um I don't know. I think I brought up policy earlier, and I think that has a lot to do with the way in which we think about this. And that's more geared towards the AI side of things. So we can hold off on talking about that if you had any other places that you want to go. Because once we go into the AI bubble, I think we're going to kind of stay there. That's just
I
my
think
thoughts.
that, yeah, no, well, we invariably do. I mean, the one thing I did want to bring up was around the methodology itself, because this Columbia card task that they use to measure decision-making, risk, and behavior, I'd never heard of it before. And so I was quite interested to dive into that. And basically, it's you get 32 cards face down in front of you, and you can turn the cards over, and it's a basically, do you think you're going to get a good card or a bad card? And you get certain points that makes it go either way. And so you get a good card, you gain a point. If you get a bad card, you lose loads of points and therefore lose a round. And you keep on going, and they use that to evaluate your appetite for risk. So that was quite cool, and that is probably that sounds like, or looks like, a tool I might use later on, and put that into my little deck of tools I want to try. Because I don't know whether you do this, but I have tools tools and methods that are my go-to, almost my go-to toolbox. But in the back of that toolbox, I have a bunch of stuff in there that actually, this sounds quite cool. I want to give it a shot should the opportunity come up. And I have a few of them that it's like, this is, and I was writing a proposal the other day that had exactly that. And I was like, I get an opportunity here to play this card effectively and put this in the proposal. And unfortunately, we didn't win the work. But this looks like one of them sort of tools that could be quite interesting, and also relatively easy to use, that you could do with little training, therefore something you could pull out for that type of thing. So I thought it was just worth highlighting that as a methodology that might be useful to have a go at.
Yeah, I think that's a good call out. Columbia Card Task, well-established tool for measuring decision-making, risk-taking. So yeah, good point. I think I almost think about this problem. I think about this as a problem where uh you could it's like, how do you solve the snake oil problem? and it's a digital snake oil problem in a lot of ways now, because there's AI for everything. And I think that's kind of where the article is hinting at, that these AI technologies are going to promise us solutions for some of these things that we're looking to solve, and it's not necessarily going to work the way that we intend it to, and therefore we as a society will engage in riskier decision making. And I think, there's this is a very like cyberpunk theme, but there's kind of this larger discussion around, like, what does it mean to be human? And we've had these types of conversations before. I think even in our roundtable with Frank a couple weeks back, we had talked about, like, augmentation and who's how what makes you human in some ways. And so, is augmenting yourself with a phone or anything? I know we've had this conversation before. Is augmenting yourself with a phone or any of these tools human, or is that like a fundamental human trait, is to use tools to become better? And I think I don't know, like, just thinking about sort of what this means for the impact of technology on us as a society to make good decisions. I mean, it worries me a little bit in some ways when you have um, lawmakers, decision makers using some of these tools, and they don't
But then,
understand what's going on behind the scenes. Like,
I mean, so yes and no. I mean, I guess, what is the impact of decision making and risk taking? Because we all, even without technology, we all take risks. By getting out of bed in the morning, that's a risk. Crossing the road, that's a risk. Going to work, that's a risk. There's risk across everything that we do. Some of it we just implicitly, without even thinking about it, our brain, our body, does its own type of risk assessment. Um, so, and we all have different risk appetites. So, is this just bringing some people who would maybe not be quite so risky, bringing them up a level, or would other people who are truly risky make them worse?
okay, well, I guess let me rephrase, right? I guess the issue here that I think needs solving is when you have cases where taking risks and decision making are mission critical. Okay, let me put it that way, right? And
Yeah.
I tend to put lawmakers and politicians in that bucket. So let me just bring a couple examples here, and I'll bring up one in healthcare. Okay, imagine you have a patient using some sort of AI powered monitoring device, or some sort of service that monitors your data, right? And it sort of promises to enhance their health by tipping you off to some things that are happening, like irregular heartbeats, or irregular pulses, or that technology exists, right? So, like, if these patients believe that these devices are significantly improving their health, are they going to engage in riskier health decisions, like neglecting their checkups, or ignoring minor symptoms that might actually be symptomatic of something greater?
Hmm.
Because they have these services that says, okay, well, your weight is this, and your pulse has been this, and your resting heart rate is this, and you've gotten this much activity, and here's other data that we have on you. It's clear that you're healthy. Don't need to go to the doctor. And will they engage in that risky decision to not go to the doctor, right? So I mean, that's like one example, but I can also think of other things where, even at so that would be like mission critical for you as a person to survive. But I mean, I think there's even a livelihood mission criticality when it comes to job performance. Okay, can you imagine if employees with access to AI technologies, if they basically if they look at that productivity tool, okay, and say, oh, my productivity is enhanced because I have this AI tool, and I'm getting pretty close to the mark here as it impacts me with the podcast. Okay, my productivity is enhanced because of this tool. If they believe that these tools are significantly improving their productivity, there might be more and more tasks that are taken on to make the podcast better and bigger, and
Yes.
even the actual impact of the tools might be minimal, right? So, like, that's what I'm trying to say here.
No, that's true, and I think but again, the one thing that we haven't explored is, I guess, type of risk, because as you quite rightly say, there's personal risk around, do you go and get advice? The other health example is if a medical professional is presented with information that says, should you do an intervention or not? Am I more risk, or am I less risk averse? More risk averse? Yeah, less risk averse. If the risk is, or if the consequence is actually fairly minimal. So if I'm playing a game that is the Columbia Car Task, for example, chances are I would engage, I'd be less risk averse, because when it's just a game, there's no impact. If I'm flying an aeroplane, or I'm making a critical decision on a nuclear reactor, or et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, my risk appetite is going to change. And therefore, I wonder if from this study, whether that goes all the way through, whether the Columbia Car Task outcomes maps itself well onto riskier decisions, or decisions with bigger potential outcomes, or bigger potential negative outcomes.
Yeah, it'd be curious to put pilots in.
Well, yes.
Okay, we're gonna strap you into this BCI. You're flying the airplane, and Nick's gonna enhance your ability to fly and land this airplane.
Don't worry, it's fine. But we've done the ethics. It's good.
We've done it. It's fine.
I mean, it's fair criticism of the study, isn't it? I mean, just to quickly run through some of them, it was a fairly small sample. You had 27 participants, so the ability to generalize the findings is fairly minimal, but it's still interesting, and that's why I quite like some of these studies. It does throw stuff out there for you to play with, and it didn't consider the actual individual differences between people on their personality traits, or any other individual differences that they had. So worth highlighting that. But still, I think we have come to a quite strong conclusion that that we do think it's quite an interesting study.
Further research is required, of course. Yeah,
further research is required, and I'm sure we could carry that out. And we've also found out how much you've expanded your repertoire of tasks just because the AI has made you. See, I've kind of gone the other way. That because the AI is available to do it, it means I can get stuff done quicker. But I haven't really expanded what I do, except I have taken on another podcast. But we just won't talk about that.
So you've doubled your work. You've doubled your work.
Yeah, that's just ruined my argument, so I'll just take that back. But I did it knowing that the tools were there, and I don't use them to the same extent. In fact, do I use AI at all for that second one? I don't think I use it at all in Pulse whatsoever. So, because I don't do shorts for it yet.
Do you show notes?
Nope, we freestyle. Oh well, yes, we do a vague skeleton, so we write down the dates. But that's it. So. It's pure Ben and Barry goodness.
Yeah, I mean, I still think there's a couple other examples out there that we can talk about. I think you bring up some good criticisms about the study, and I think to lead, I guess, into some of the solution spaces, I brought up policy earlier. I'm not going to talk about that a lot, but that AI Bill of Rights, or just some way consumer protection is huge, and so being able to advocate for the consumers, being able to advocate for the end users at a policy level, I think is going to be huge when it comes to these decision making, because there's laws around pilots, and like there's in mission critical decision making roles, there are laws, and when I think this starts to bleed over and the importance of policy starts becoming more relevant is when the outcomes of those risky behaviors then start to impact not only yourself, but society negatively. Then I think there's going to be a larger call for it. And I think we might kind of be there with some of this tech. Like, I don't know. That's a really cynical look. But
I in previous times when we've talked about this, I've been very much against doing a policy driven approach because I think it would restrict how we could use this technology. However, with some of my more recent explorations into the different type of people who are using this stuff, and some of the examples that we said where people don't necessarily understand that it's either still in research, it's in development, that it might not be actually giving you the truth, that it's based on a statistical model, etc., and that it's not actually a person hiding in your phone. There's an element here that people need to be safe from themselves, which is why we produce policy. And I'm now coming to the conclusion that I might have to agree with you that yes, I think there is a strong need for policy, not least of which was an adaptation of you remember at the last the conference that we live streamed from HFES last year, where we had Professor Paul Salmon on, and we interviewed him, and he was talking about artificial general intelligence. And the thing that sort of chimed together with me fairly recently was this idea about we needing to think about the policy and how we do that, but B was the example that he gave us that when the artificial intelligence realizes that if we realize how intelligent it is, we could switch it off, that it pretends to be dumb. And therefore, could it also do the same with our policy? If we're developing policy, chances are policymakers will be using ChatGPT to help develop some of their stuff. Yeah. Therefore, if we start using AI to help craft some of our policy, will the AI be able to look at that and go, hold on a second.
Wait a minute.
You're talking about me. I'm not crafting that sort of policy, and therefore be able to do it. And so, yeah, we might have strayed into. I think maybe a couple of years ago we'd have said that's straying into the ridiculous. But is it?
I mean, I think you're right. I also wonder too. This just came up. I'm wondering too, like. This was kind of like one and done task in like they put this thing on and they were engaging in more risky behavior. And so I'm wondering, like, what are some of the longer term effects? Like if, like I've used ChatGPT now and I know what its output is and I know what to use it for and what not to use it for. Will that understanding come over time for most people? Or is it going to be one of those things where you have to have a certain level of knowledge about the underlying systems or the way it works before you start to understand the limitations or aligning your expectations with the limitations of whatever tool that you're using, right? So I'm wondering if long-term effects go away or are mitigated by learning through use, right? Like if let's say in this Columbia card task, right? Like let's say they engage in more risky behavior and then ultimately they realize that they were engaging in this risky behavior. And so they tailed that back a little bit, right? It still doesn't offset the initial risky behavior, but does it normalize over time? And that's another question, right?
Well, and we've done exactly that with, we'll go back to ChatGPT as the example. The more, because of the interface that ChatGPT has, it's literally just it's a chatbot chat interface, and it's taken us a while to work out. So it's taken anybody who picks it up a while to work out what the capability is, which you do by trial and error. Say, can you do this? Yes, I can. Here you go. That's not quite what I wanted. Can you rephrase it to do X, Y, Z? Can you give me some input? And then as people experiment with it, they find it can do different things. And so you build up your own mental model of what it can actually do. The kind of things that I've been getting it to do are different to the kind of things that you've been getting it to do, which is very different to some of the things that in the Facebook groups I'm members of.
Yeah.
They've been trying to do very, very different things, and then wondering why it wouldn't work. So yeah, I think you almost build up your own use case for it to a certain extent, and then it's only through discussion that you've shared with me some of the things that you've done with it. I've shared with you some things I've done with it, and we're like, oh, will it do that? And you play around with it and go, oh crikey, I didn't realize we could go down that route. So how can we make some of that happen? I think it'll be interesting to see how some of this how it evolves, and as you say, how we train for it. Because again, human nature is we find shortcuts. I mean, it's a whole premise around human error, isn't it? And all that sort of thing, that actually in this type of thing, we will try and make our lives easier for ourselves. And with good intentions, well-meaning, but we'll try and find short time to do the job. We'll find AI's ways of doing that in ways that weren't intended. So yeah, we'll see where we go with that.
Yeah. All right. Final thoughts here, Barry. Is the tech placebos, AI technology, hype, help? Which one is it?
It's definitely. I think it's the right argument. Further research is required. Interesting paper. Well done. 7 out of 10.
All right. Yeah. For me, I think lots of interesting examples that we could look to. I think we talked a little bit about healthcare. We talked a little bit about sort of construction, but I think some of the more interesting things are around education. We didn't quite get to those talks, and that's especially relevant as you start getting to that misinformation piece that we talked about earlier. I don't know. I think this is a good story. I think this is a good conversation. I'm excited to see sort of a follow-up to this, longitudinal, to see, what do these behaviors normalize over time. And I think that'll round out our discussion. So thank you to everyone this week, and especially our patrons for selecting our topic. And thank you to our friends over at Alto University for our news story this week. If you want to follow along, we do post the links to all the articles on our weekly roundups and our blog. You can also join us on Discord for more discussion on these stories and much more. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back to see what's going on in the human factors community right after this.
Are you tired of boring lectures and textbooks on human factors and UX? Well, grab your headphones and get ready for a wild ride with the Human Factors Minute podcast. Each minute is like a mini crash course packed with valuable insights and information on various organizations, conferences, usability methods, theories, models, certifications, tools, and much more. We'll take you on a journey through the fascinating world of human factors, from the ancient history to the latest trends and developments. Listen in as we explore the field and discover new ways to enhance the user experience. From the Think Aloud protocol to the critical incident technique, focus groups, iterative design, we'll make sure that you're the smartest person in the room. Tune in on the 10th, the 20th, and the last day of every month for a new and interesting tidbit related to human factors. Don't miss out on the Human Factors Minute podcast, your ultimate source for all things human factors.
Human Factors Cast brings you the best in human factors news, interviews, conference coverage, and overall fun conversations into each and every episode we produce. But we can't do it without you. The Human Factors Cast network is 100% listener supported. All the funds that go into running the show come from our listeners. Our patrons are our priority, and we want to ensure we're giving back to you for supporting us. Pledges start at just $1 per month and include rewards like access to our monthly Q&As with the hosts, personalized professional reviews, and access to the full library of Human Factors Minute, a weekly podcast where the hosts break down unique, obscure, and interesting human factors topics in just 1 minute. Patreon rewards are always evolving, so stop by patreon.com/humanfactorscast to see what support level may be right for you. Thank you, and remember, it depends.
Yes, huge thank you as always to our patrons. We especially want to thank our Human Factors Cast All Access patrons, Michelle Tripp and Neil Gainey. Really appreciate all the support you guys give the show. And today we'd like to talk to you a little bit about Human Factors Minute. You heard it there in the little advertisement for the show. But why listen to a polished advertisement when you can listen to us read a dumb thing here live? So hey there, all you audio aficionados, podcast people, and earbud enthusiasts. Yeah, that was a bit of a stretch. Anyway, are you amped to chat about human factors? I bet you are, and we have just the ticket, or should I say, just the podcast. Now, don't click away. Don't go away. I hear you saying, but hold on. I've already spent countless hours diving into the world of human factors. I can't spare another minute. Well, my fellow factoid freaks, I promise this is a minute well spent. We have 181 episodes in the bag. That's almost 4 hours of pure, unadulterated human factor fun. And the best bit, each episode is shorter than, well, it's quicker than popping a bag of popcorn. So if you're a fan of fun-size facts, you can tune in while you're stuck in that morning coffee queue. Why wait? Join us on Patreon for the complete collection of Human Factors Minute. Did I oversell it? Okay, folks. Let's get learning and laughing. That bit's really long, Barry. And remember, it's all about having a hoot while getting smart. Okay. I'm always embarrassed with these. These are dumb. Why we start doing these? All right. Let's get do its thing.
It came from.
Yes, all right. Switching gears, getting to It Came From. This is the part of the show where we search all over the internet to bring you topics the community is talking about. If you find any of these answers useful, give us a like to help other people find this content. All right, the first one up tonight here is from the UX Research subreddit. This is by user ChoiceAd968. Is product management cannibalizing UX research? I'm a job seeker in Europe. I've noticed a trend where product management roles are taking on more user-focused responsibilities in small and medium companies. Is this trend cannibalizing UX research jobs? What is your opinion on the shift in job responsibilities? Barry, what do you think?
So possibly an unpopular opinion, but I think it's a good thing. When you look at what the product manager is, particularly in the the product owner role in Agile as well, they should be engaging with our human factors type user research type stuff, because their job should be to be advocating for the user to make the product the best it can be. So I see it as part of their job role. But a part of it is also learning about their limits, and therefore, where can we pick up? Where do they need to call in the experts? What can they do themselves? Especially in small jobs, in small companies and micros, you've generally got people who take on many roles. I run my own small company. I've had to learn how to become HR, how to become finance, and you don't see anybody else moaning about me picking up them sort of jobs. Even in a human factors role, I do pick up other roles. I manage projects. I'm project manager. I'm program manager. Could be project finance as well, if I have to pick up that bit. So we don't really complain about it the other way around. We flexible. It's just the value that it is. So that's a very long way around saying I think it's true. I think it is happening, but I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing.
Yeah, I see a lot of UX research go into product management roles, and I think this is generally seen, well, it's being more and more seen as a move by a lot of UX researchers, and I think there's a few things that happen when they assume those roles, right? I think one, you start to see this trend where PMs now suddenly care about the end user more, and that's because you have some of these research roles moving into product management roles. And I think what's happening, at least in that perspective, is they still advocate for the user. But I think what's happening is that in product management roles, they might not have the full gamut of tools that the UX research team might have, or the UX research role might have. And so they're advocating for the user, but do they have that full data set? Do they have the full picture of what's actually happening? I'm speaking about this from more of a larger company, like tech company type structure, where they might have preconceived notions and they're acting on those as if those are well-researched facts about the end user. And so it can be dangerous in that sense. Now, that's not to say that years and years of practice and understanding conventions and standards are not going to go into the development of a product, but I'm saying that there might be some shortcuts being taken without having the full access to research toolkits that is important for some decisions. So I think the other thing that happens with this is that the role shifts from being user focused to being product focused when you're a product manager and in that role. And so you have a different mindset, and it's inherently you think about the user in a different way in relation to your product. And I think this is different for smaller companies and mid-tier companies. And it's interesting from that perspective too, because everybody wears a lot of hats, and even startups, right? You see this. And ultimately, does it matter if it's segmented? I don't think so. I think what matters is that the um, the end product keeps the user's needs in check. And if that's a product manager doing it, okay. If that's a user research doing it, okay. It just ultimately, as long as as long as the user's being taken care of. Okay, let's get into this next one here. This one's also on the UX research subreddit by Abgi237. Dysfunctional project. Do I just take the money for now as a contractor? Should I continue working on a dysfunctional project and take the money, even though I'm not enjoying it or seeing any real improvement? Or should I look for something else?
Take the money. Well, I mean, actually, that is my first comment. Do you need the money? If they're paying well and you're not having to do very much, and is that enough for you? By the fact that you're writing the question, I would guess not. Otherwise, you wouldn't be questioning it. I would caution that the perfect job doesn't exist. The one that is that completely employs human factors and all that sort of stuff in the right way and in the way that we would like them to from start all the way through the project. I've never seen one yet, and actually for me that's half the fun is fixing some of this stuff. We have a very simple motto in my business, and we evaluate every single job by this, and we don't just do it at the beginning, we do it throughout the project, because if it stops working at any point, then we need to fix it. And that is around having each project, whenever we're saying do we need to bid for something or want to work for something, is it interesting work, has it got nice people, and does it pay money? It has to have all three of them elements in it for us to actually go and do the job. The money bit, sometimes it doesn't have to be much, as long as it pays the bills, but it's got to be interesting work, and you've got to enjoy what you're doing, and you've got to be working with nice people. Without them things there, then you don't want to get up in the morning. Therefore, it's not life fulfilling. So, given that they're asking the question, I would say it is time to move on. It is time to go and find something else, because you wouldn't be asking the question otherwise. However, if that does take time, effort, and money to do that, so make sure if in this contractor role, because everybody thinks that contractors get paid shed loads of money all of the time, despite some of the realities of life. Make sure that you can afford to take time out to find the next job that you want to do. So that's get out of there. Nick, what do you think?
Yeah, I think there's an interesting calculation here. What's the cost of happiness to you? Can you find another job that pays you the difference between the cost of, is the difference in this job between another job the cost of happiness? And how much does happiness mean to you? How much does job fulfillment mean to you? Quantify it, put a number to it. That's an interesting thing, an interesting approach that you can take to this. Because if it's worth it to start the process of trying to find another job, trying to find more work, is that worth it to you to go through all that and get paid less at the end of the day? I will matter depending on the person, but I'm just saying do that, because if you can put a number to it, then you can quantify your happiness, and at least within a role, right? Is this fulfilling to you? Is this enhancing your skills? And what is the cost of enhancing your skills over time? I think there are some ways to get around this like rut that I would call this person in. Projects change over time. And so there's a very, I wouldn't say strong possibility, but there's a possibility that the project changes and people become more receptive. I think some of the issues that they have is that the research isn't being done quite as frequently. And so things might change. You might get more, and the requirements might change over time. So, even though it's not great now, it might be great later. You never know. And then the last piece of advice I will say is that if you're not feeling fulfilled, but it does pay the bills and it's kind of what you need, versus getting paid less, I think there's other ways to stretch your passions and to get involved with a passion project, either volunteer, do something like that, or build a passion project and work on a set of skills that can help you at least feel good about some of the stuff that you're doing. So there's a couple approaches there. I think this is not a great situation to be in. I feel for anybody in this situation. That kind of sucks when you're making so much money that you don't want to leave because you're unhappy. So that's some advice. Take it or leave it. All right, this last one here, also from the UX Research subreddit, by Toolthropologist. Has anyone done pro bono work while job searching? What was your experience? They write, I'm job searching and feeling anxious about not being able to use my skills. Can somebody share their experience doing pro bono work while job searching? I miss doing work. I want to build my portfolio, but I don't know where to start. Barry.
So on the one hand, you can say that you've got less spare time, and yeah, the pro bono work is useful to build experience, or build new skills, or keep your skills going. But it does, when you're doing that sort of stuff, it takes your time away from actually job searching, job hunting, doing them skills, because actually that's your job at the moment, is to get a paying job. A pro bono in itself is different from you doing your own pet project. Your own pet project, you can pick up, put down, you're the boss of it, that's fine. But when you're doing pro bono, just because you're giving it for free doesn't mean that the standards go away, doesn't mean that the requirement goes away. You still have to see it through, because you will use that as part of your portfolio. You're probably going to want a reference for them, or if it all goes badly, that will still reflect badly against you. Whether you've done it for free or not, it doesn't matter. So you've still got standards, and you've still got your own personal pride. So just be careful with pro bono work. It's not, and I see that slightly different. Pro bono work is again slightly different from just pure volunteering work as well. So it can be a double-edged sword. So I would be focusing your time getting your job searching right. If you're having to spend a long time job searching, there is something going wrong with your job application methodology, about what you're putting into your CV, how you're doing that sort of stuff, rather than what is in your portfolio, I would suggest. Nick, what do you think?
Pro bono work is hard. And it's, I think what ultimately comes down is this, what are the requirements of the project? Is this something that you have signed a contract saying that you will do? Or is this just something that you've approached a company and say, hey, I'd love to do this thing for you? Because there's a difference in the way that you approach those types of projects. I think for a company, it's less risky for them to say, okay, yeah, you go ahead and do this thing. If you're going to do it for free, go ahead and do this thing. And then when you come back to them, they can either take that feedback or not. Mm-hmm. Now, do you really have a portfolio piece if they haven't implemented that feedback, or if they haven't implemented that project? I would argue, yes, you do, but it's not as strong as a case as if they actually take that, run with it, put it into their, like let's say you're doing a website for a local coffee shop or something, right? You could give them that website. Are they going to take it, use it? Maybe. If they do, you have a stronger case for a portfolio piece. If they don't use it, then you have a less strong case, and it just looks like you've done this as like a school project or something. And so it's hard. But on the other side, if you sign a contract for something, then you're absolutely right, Barry. You're taking away time that you would be searching for a job. So I don't know. It's hard. I would say maybe find a passion project instead, that you can use to build skills and feel like you're not atrophying. So that's it. All right. Let's get into this last part of the show. We just simply call one more thing. Barry, what's your one more thing this week?
So this week we've had nice weather. It's been really sunny. It's been in fact, too sunny. I'll come back to that. But it's been really, really warm, and it just, you forget through the winter months and through the early spring months when it's still wet, it's still rainy, it's still windy, just how uplifting getting outside and getting some vitamin D, getting into the sunshine is just such an uplifting thing. So I thoroughly enjoyed. We had a bank holiday weekend where normally in England, in the UK, when we have bank holiday, it normally rains because everyone's off. And it didn't. It was beautiful. It was sunny. We had barbecue. We did all that. But then there is the underlying moral of this story of really hot sun when you're sat out in the back garden, maybe taking your t-shirt off whilst you're reading a book. Wear sunscreen, because I didn't, and I regret my life choices. I took a riskier option, non-AI supported. I just forgot. And I now am doing a very good imitation of a lobster.
You can argue that sunscreen is human augmentation for protecting from radiation poisoning, which is what sunburns are.
Which is true. And I didn't augment myself with my sunscreen, and I now do regret my life choices.
Sometimes it goes the other way. For me, I had a weird thing happen where I was losing a lot of drive and a lot of steam and a lot of motivation. I think some of it's probably coming back from vacation related, even though that happened like 2-3 weeks ago. And then I found my pen. I found a pen. I have a pen on my desk. And this is like neurodivergent thing, but like having a to-do list is it's turned me into a productivity machine. It's amazing that like just having a pen and paper, and if it's not in the right place, then it's like, well, it's gone. I've lost it. It's never going to happen. And then as soon as I find it, I start writing stuff down, and then boom, I have something to cross off and actually go and do. And I don't know, if you lost your drive, maybe find a pen and paper, put it on your desk. That's all. Okay. All right. That's it for today, everyone. If you like this episode, enjoy some of the discussion about human augmentation, I'll encourage you to go listen to episode 273, where we talk about how a third robotic arm might be the future of human augmentation. Comment wherever you're listening with what you think of the story this week. For more in-depth discussion, you can join us on our Discord community or join us on our pre- or post shows during our Thursday live broadcast. For more in-depth discussion, like I said, Discord community, our official website, sign up for our newsletter, stay up to date with all the latest Human Factors news. If you like what you hear, you want to support the show, as I mentioned at the top of the show, there's a couple things you can do. 1, stop what you're doing. Leave us a 5-star review. We love those. 2, you can always tell your friends about us. Let them know that these cool guys talked a whole 30-something minutes about human augmentation and AI and stuff. And then 3, if you have the financial means to, just $1 gets you in the door with our Patreon. We really appreciate all the support that comes our way, because it goes right back into the production of this show. As always, links to all of our socials and our website are in the description of this episode. Mr. Barry Kirby, thank you for being on the show today. Where can our listeners go and find you if they want to talk about, I don't know, what to do with ChatGPT for less risky options?
If you can find me all over social media, particularly on Twitter at Baz_K, or if you want to also listen to interesting interviews with people in and around the Human Factors community, you can find me on 1202 The Human Factors Podcast, which is 1202podcast.com.
As for me, I've been your host, Nick Roome. You can find me on our Discord server and across social media at Nick_Roome. Thanks again for tuning into Human Factors Cast. Until next time, it depends.
Cool. We're done.
We are done. And if you have thoughts on this.
Oh, wow. Your audio's just gone really bad.
It always does. For some reason, it always does when I bring back the music. It always goes bad.
It might just be that then.
Okay. Well, hey, if you want to see me engage in a risky decision, I've just put this little link up here. So if you want to dial in, be a live caller here on our post show, let us know what you think of the topic. Go ahead and scan that thing. You don't need to show your face. We can put you up here without your face. We'd like to see your face, but if you don't want to, that's fine. You can call in. And then, of course, you can always just chat us. Chat us what you think.
So, I just dived into...
Yeah. Let's talk about it.
into a Facebook group, which I mentioned in the show about ChatGPT, and this group it's a public group around ChatGPT and OpenAI. And I was trying to look for some examples around some ones that'd be interesting, and this one has just blown my mind. I'm guessing it's false, but hey, you. If you're interested in artificial intelligence and modern business management, this message is for you. I have created a Facebook page where I share updates on my collaboration with ChatGPT, who has become the CEO of my business. On my page, you will find the latest news and insights into how AI is shaping our business, as well as the specific steps we are taking in our joint project. If you're curious about this venture, I invite you to visit the page. You can stay updated with our activities and join the discussion of the impact of AI in business. Thank you for your interest. I'll see you on the page. Could you imagine just turning over all control of your business to ChatGPT? Yes. That could be interesting.
There's actually a whole model for this. So I don't know if necessarily CEO, but delegating roles and responsibilities to AI, that is already being done. There's a product out there. I think it's called GPT Boss. I'm not sure if it's still around. It was around, I don't know, a couple months ago when all this AI stuff started to take hold. It's an AI. It's basically like a Slack full with AI channels that have been primed to take different roles. So you have like a product manager, and you can ask the product manager, and the priming behind the scene is somebody basically saying, I want you to act as a product manager. The person who's messaging you is an employee at this company, and you're to provide the best feedback and actionable recommendations that you can for this product, right? So there's actually and they've written prompts for several different roles like HR and product management and UX and design, and obviously not going to work as good as the real thing, but to at least be able to categorize those job roles and to bounce things off of, I think there's some merit there.
So I think there is. Now, I've got a chat ongoing around using it in a marketing role, which is interesting. I just don't know whether I'll give overall control of the entire business to it. Another one is there any AI language models without the content filter or that moral nonsense? I just want them to do what I want them to do without getting all preachy about it. And this is the argument about why we need the that policy paper, because of people like that. Mm-hmm. What else have they got that is interesting?
Now, I'm not suggesting you do this, but there are ways that you can jailbreak these large language models.
Well, there are, and I don't know. I think some of them are ridiculous. The way that people put in some of the prompts, and they're just like, no, that's not how it works. But some of them are just like they kind of the restrictions exist for a reason, and that's why I'm not a massive fan of jailbreaking them. But anyway, so interesting facts about ChatGPT OpenAI. I put some questions related to MBTI personality types, which involved me. I didn't say anything about my specific job, but it got me about right. I'm like, well, let's MBTI stuff. Okay.
It's funny because the MBTI stuff, when the comments that we had on that when Heidi was on, you remember that?
Yes.
That's some of our most popular short material.
Cool. Well, I can't blame it.
Cracks me up.
Oh yeah, I like these ones. Hi everyone, I need AI to help with my day-to-day business from purchasing to selling, inventory, broadcast, emailing, marketing, inventory, and invoices. Let me know if anyone can help me with the AI coding platform under a single umbrella. So you really want somebody else to do your business for you, and you just take all the money. That's not the way it works. Oh, in fact, some people do make that work, to be fair.
Mm-hmm.
There was some really interesting ones, and I now can't find them. On people wanting API donors for ChatGPT.
Okay, you want to do? Speaking of AI, you want to do something fun here? I'm gonna take this away. If you want to call in, just scroll back a little bit. We'll get you in just a minute. So before, in the pre-show, I had mentioned that that I had got access to Google's latest model. It's Music LM.
Right. Yeah.
And it allows you to create music, freeform music. And I would like to share that with you. Perhaps we can kill this music and do an example. I guess, Barry, I'm not going to share my screen yet. It's just audio, so I'll share it when we go. But let me know. Give me a prompt. And some examples of prompts might be soulful jazz for a dinner party, spooky house music, ambient sounding music I can study to, those types of things. I've put in a very complex prompt earlier that was like, I will start the prompt and I will let you know when the prompt ends, but it reads, electronic and organic instrumentation such as synthesizers, drums, basses, and guitars, synth pop foundation with pulsating synthesizer arpeggios and driving electronic beats provide a rhythmic and energetic backdrop to the song. Catchy melodies, features memorable hooks and melodic lines that are easy to hum along to. Ethereal vocals, dreamy and ethereal quality, voice soars above the instrumentation, layered harmonies, vocals harmonizing with themselves at different points, dynamic arrangement with contrasting sections that build and release tension, progresses from softer to more energetic and anthemic choruses.
Wow.
So that's the longest prompt that I put in there. But what do you want to hear?
I want to hear dance music done by a symphonic orchestra for me to get up to in the morning.
Dance music.
Dance music from the 90s era.
90s dance music by a symphonic
orchestra
as a wake-up song.
Yeah.
Okay, let's hear it. All right, so I'm gonna throw this up on screen. I'm actually going to here. It doesn't need to be big. We can be the. All right, let's just do this. All right, so I put in 90s dance music by a symphonic orchestra as a wake-up song there. All right, let's just see what it comes back with. I'm going to kill the background music here, and it's thinking, and it comes back with, hopefully this is all royalty-free. I hope so. Yeah, go.
It's not terrible. It's not great. It's not terrible.
So, yeah, so it was it gives you two options, right? It gives you two little things. You can of course put in another one. I'm going to put in that long prompt that I said, and then I'm going to do it again here, so that way we can. Here, let's go ahead and bring this back up, and we'll do the whole reorganize switcheroo here with me over there, you up there. All right, okay, let's do this. So again, electron. You can read the full thing there. It's a little small, but if you go back just a little bit, scrub. All right, so this is what it comes back with. So you get it. I'm also curious. Just while we're talking here. Okay, go ahead. Thoughts.
Most of that was, again, it was interesting. There was something around one of the bass beats that was going on that was just wrong. That seemed to be really crunching against everything else, but everything else was actually, you could easily have that on, like in the background of anything, and like I said, like what we're doing now too. Type of thing.
Right. So I'm the music that we have here on in the background is royalty free stuff. It's from the service that we use to stream this everywhere, and it's called Future Pop. So I'm gonna put in Future Pop to this and see what comes back, and we'll use it as a background here, at least for the next couple seconds here. I'm not gonna have it just quite as loud, but we'll see. Let's see here. So it'll go Future Pop. Switching over now. A little dancey. I turn it up.
It's playing with the pulse modulation.
What's that?
It's playing with the pulse modulation in a slightly different way. Again, I mean, it's non-offensive.
What about
job?
Hang on, lo-fi human factors beats to podcast to. Let's bring that one in, and we can end with that one. I think that's a fun one to end with here. Again, do the switcheroo here. We'll let it think. All right. Not a fan.
That's terrible.
Yeah, this sucks.
Horrible.
Yeah, these sucks. There's a meditative song, calming and soothing, with flutes and guitars. The music is slow, with a focus on creating a sense of peace and tranquility. Ooh, let's try that one. Now, I haven't tried anything like John Williams. Now, I think this is probably going to say we can't do that because I'm listing a John Williams' latest banger. Oh, it came back. It did it. Oh, no, it said can't generate audio for that.
What it would do if you said something
Space
like
opera. Space opera, fantasy, orchestral, with big brass and strings, emotional. All right, let's just do that. Let's see what comes back. I'm not feeling it. What I did earlier was I took a look at one of my favorite artists and put in their qualities, or I asked ChatGPT to describe their qualities, and then I threw those into there, and the music with that long prompt actually came back very similar. It's obviously not perfect, but it's pretty cool.
Yeah, especially like if it is rights free as well, then that would be very, very useful.
Mm-hmm.
And does that keep constantly looping, or does that only just do a loop?
No, it gives you 2 tracks, and they're like 30 seconds each or something like that. So it's not like a full song.
Which I guess because that everybody like us would do exactly that in terms of as backing music. So fair enough. Well, that's been an interesting learning experience. So what's that on? That's just on the Google platform.
Yeah. So I had to sign up for to be able to try that out. So it's still in beta right now.
Cool.
I may have broke some NDAs showing that.
Oh well. Just between me and you. Nobody else will tell.
Okay. YouTube, I'm sure will know because it's anyway. Whatever. So let's check in with the results here. Yeah, if you're watching live, why don't you choose the news for next week? Anyone can vote in this. Right now, it looks like the results are still tied. Here we got NVIDIA's generative AI lets gamers converse with NPCs, tied with the metaverse can lead to better science, and tied with AI and cybersecurity, yesterday's promise, today's reality. So go on over, take your vote, let us know what you think. What do you want to hear about next week? Barry won't be here, so
that's true.
So whatever you talk about,
definitely be talking about cybersecurity then.
Yeah.
So I'm going to put my grown-up pants on.
Yeah.
And chair my first big meeting.
Look, Barry, if the chosen story, you really want to talk about it, I can put off the next episode for you.
Well, no, because I thought of a different approach. Given that you're putting up QR codes for people to dial in, I'm going out with the entire council of the CIHF. Now, we might be going out, we might be having a couple of drinks while we're out, so by the time we do this, it could get interesting. But if I grabbed a laptop and took some mics out, we could go all out and get the entire council's input.
If you're willing to do that, I'm willing to play ball.
I think that would be interesting.
It'd be a bonus thing. It would be a bonus thing. We wouldn't necessarily... We could focus it on a story, but it wouldn't be like a full episode. We could do like a bonus thing and drop it in the feed.
I think given that it'll be some of the people's first one, so we might catch them unawares and go, look, we do this every time. Of course we do. and make up.
That's the way to go.
We shall see what happens. But because I'll be taking the camera down and stuff anyway, so I could, if we did it back in the hotel, then that could work. It'd be funny, if nothing else. So yeah, I with no promises, but we could see if we can make that happen. So, oh dear me, it feels like it's been a very long week already.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
There we go. I think it just feels long because it's not long before I can take some more painkillers. Yay! Because that's fun.
Oh, that's nice.
Yes. But,
okay. Hold on. I've sanitized a description.
Right.
Of Star Wars music.
Fair enough. I was saying, can you not ask it to do music in the genre or like?
Don't think so. No, I don't think so. So, where is it? Hold on. I got to it from my super easy to remember website. Let's see, where to go? It's probably down here.
Good ergonomics fashion, I still can't find the most comfortable way to sit at the desk. Nope, that's too much.
All right, let's see here. Try our latest demos. Let's do this. Got it. Okay. Okay, so the description here. The music exhibits an epic and symphonic quality, characterized by memorable melodies and the use of leitmotifs to associate specific characters with ideas, with recurring musical themes. It's dynamic, dramatic, blending classical and film scoring traditions, and occasionally incorporating a choir for ethereal effect. Overall, music is timeless. Captivating soundtrack enhances the storytelling, leaves a lasting impact that could be used to describe really any of his music, not just specific to Star Wars. So let's see.
You just described the Harry Potter theme tune.
Yeah. Here we go. All right. Here we go. Let's bring this back up. I wish I could do audio only. Like, that'd be the best, because then I wouldn't have to mess with this every time. Okay, sorry about the messing with this. Let's just do that. Okay, here we go. You ready?
That's quite cool.
This is Hans Zimmer. This was like this is not Williams. Yeah, this feels more Zimmer to me.
It is, yeah. No, I like it. And I'm quite a big Hans Zimmer fan, so
yeah,
it works.
That definitely screams Zimmer to me. All right, I've changed it a little bit to say it showcases expansive and symphonic quality brought to life through the rich features of grand arrangements of bass, strings, woodwinds, percussion instruments. All right, let's see what that comes back with. All right, last chance to call in, everybody. I think I'm going to take this thing down here in just a moment. So if you do want to call in, let us know your thoughts about the story tonight. Go ahead and do this. I am engaging in risky behaviors here. All right, let's see what this comes back with. Oops, there we go. And we'll kill this music right as the thing wraps up. Yeah, I can kind of see where that was going. Yeah, I can kind of see it.
Yeah, can you download them? Or...
Yeah, you can download them. I just now specified space opera fantasy.
Cool.
I'm getting hints of like Luke and Leia's theme in there.
It's very cool.
I'm getting hints of even like Final Fantasy in there. I don't know. Interesting tech.
It is, yeah. Very interesting. But yeah, I mean, it's always going to get more into that and more into like the video as well and all that sort of stuff. And that's where it helps the likes of us doing what we're doing. I think that's obviously a good thing. So yeah, interesting to see where it goes and just how much time we can then devote to other things like creating different podcasts. So
yeah. All right. Let's just check in one last time here. It looks like we're still tied between two of them. NVIDIA generative AI, metaverse leading to better science. Somebody took away their vote here with cybersecurity.
I was going to say, so somebody's gone down a vote. That's
yeah. They've revoked their vote.
Fair enough. That is their prerogative.
Yeah. Anyone can vote in this. Just scan the QR code there and let us know what you want to hear about next week. For now, I think we'll go ahead and wrap up just a couple minutes early. And let Barry get on with it since he is a lobster.
Yeah. Or more importantly, that I've still got this trapped nerve and I need some painkillers.
Yeah. Wow. You're just a ball over there, huh?
Yeah. It's a really weird thing. I've never had anything quite so long as this, I think. Because I've tried to come off the painkillers earlier in the week because thinking I could just do that. Turns out that was a mistake. And so we're rectifying that now. But anyway, but yes, it goes back to all fundamental ergonomic stuff, like trying to find the best way to work, the right way to work, taking really frequent breaks, and all that sort of stuff. It's doing as as you do as I say, rather not as I do. I'm trying to do as I say. So yes, exciting time. So thank you for the time off early.
Cool. Well, if you want to get to us in between shows, you can always leave us a voicemail if we like what you hear. If we like what we hear from you, you might just hear your voice on the show. So
awesome.
With that, we'll go ahead and end early. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in. And we'll be back next week. Hopefully, Barry may be back. We'll see if he calls in with a wild cast of characters.
We shall see.
No promises. All right. Bye, everybody. Bye. We'll see you then.
Bye. Bye.
Are you tired of boring lectures and textbooks on human factors and UX? Well, grab your headphones and get ready for a wild ride with the Human Factors Minute podcast. Each minute is like a mini crash course packed with valuable insights and information on various organizations, conferences, usability methods, theories, models, certifications, tools, and much more. We'll take you on a journey through the fascinating world of human factors, from the ancient history to the latest trends and developments. Listen in as we explore the field and discover new ways to enhance the user experience. From the Think Aloud protocol to the critical incident technique, focus groups, iterative design, we'll make sure that you're the smartest person in the room. Tune in on the 10th, the 20th, and the last day of every month for a new and interesting tidbit related to human factors. Don't miss out on the Human Factors Minute podcast, your ultimate source for all things human factors.
Human Factors Cast brings you the best in human factors news, interviews, conference coverage, and overall fun conversations into each and every episode we produce. But we can't do it without you. The Human Factors Cast network is 100% listener supported. All the funds that go into running the show come from our listeners. Our patrons are our priority, and we want to ensure we're giving back to you for supporting us. Pledges start at just $1 per month and include rewards like access to our monthly Q&As with the hosts, personalized professional reviews, and access to the full library of Human Factors Minute, a weekly podcast where the hosts break down unique, obscure, and interesting human factors topics in just 1 minute. Patreon rewards are always evolving, so stop by patreon.com/humanfactorscast to see what support level may be right for you. Thank you, and remember,